The first human cadet. The Galactic Military Academy was a marvel of engineering, a massive station suspended in orbit around the twin stars of the Kalos system. Its metallic domes shimmered with intricate patterns, reflecting the vivid hues of a nearby nebula. For centuries, it had been the proving ground for the galaxy's most elite warriors. From towering insectoids with razor-sharp claws to reptilian beings cloaked in adaptive scales, the Academy welcomed the finest cadets from countless alien species. Yet for all its diversity, one species had been notably absent: humans. Until now. Alex Carter stepped off the sleek, silvery transport ship onto the Academy's bustling docking platform. Her gray uniform, adorned only with the Academy's insignia on her chest, seemed plain compared to the ornate armor and shimmering robes of her alien peers. At just 5'5", she was dwarfed by the towering figures of other recruits, many of whom were over 8 feet tall and radiated raw power. Conversations paused, and heads turned, their alien features betraying a mix of curiosity and disdain. The whispers began almost immediately. "That's the human. She's so small. I heard they're from a planet with primitive technology. Probably some political stunt. She won't last a week." Alex kept her face neutral, her gray eyes scanning the sprawling station. She wasn't here to win a popularity contest. Every step she took was deliberate, her boots clicking softly against the polished floor. The Academy was as vast as it was intimidating, its corridors teeming with life and echoing with alien tongues. At the registration desk, an eye with a crystalline form processed her arrival. Its voice was cold and efficient. "Cadet Alex Carter, welcome to the Galactic Military Academy. Your quarters are assigned in Sector D13. Orientation begins in 1 hour." As Alex pocketed her holographic ID, a shadow loomed over her. She turned to seize Ra, the Academy's most celebrated cadet, standing inches away. He towered nearly 9 feet tall, his deep blue skin gleaming faintly under the overhead lights. His piercing golden eyes glared down at her with unmistakable disdain. "A human," he said, his voice a low rumble that silenced the surrounding cadets. "This is an insult to the Academy." Alex met his gaze, her expression calm. "Do you need something?" The crowd chuckled nervously, but Zre's smirk widened. "Just wondering if they taught you how to fight, or do humans only know how to run and hide?" Her response was measured, her voice steady. "I guess you'll find out." She stepped around him, leaving a ripple of murmurs in her wake. The Academy's halls buzzed with speculation long after Alex left. Humans were known across the galaxy for their adaptability and resilience, but here, those qualities were dismissed as irrelevant. To the Academy's elite, humans were primitive, unremarkable, and unworthy. In her assigned quarters, Alex unpacked her few belongings: a small photo of her family, a worn journal, and a knife with a smooth, polished handle. Each item was a reminder of Earth, of the grueling years she had spent preparing for this moment. The challenges ahead didn't intimidate her. They fueled her determination. Her solitude was interrupted by the arrival of Commander Yilin, the only other human in the Academy. A scar ran across his cheek, a testament to his decades of service. He stood in the doorway, studying her with a critical eye. "You've already made waves," Yilin said, crossing his arms. "Zre doesn't usually waste his time on rookies. I'm not here to impress him." Alex replied, her tone even. Yilin's lips twitched into a faint smile. "Good. But remember, you're not just here for yourself. You're representing all of humanity. Every move you make, every word you say will be judged. Don't give them a reason to doubt us." "I won't," she said, her voice firm. Yilin nodded once before leaving. As the door slid shut, Alex sat on the edge of her cot, her mind already racing through strategies and scenarios. She knew the odds were against her. She was an outsider in every sense, a lone representative of a species that many viewed as inferior. But Alex didn't care about the odds. She was here to prove herself, not to them, but to herself and to every human who might follow in her footsteps. The Academy's orientation was a spectacle. Hundreds of cadets filled the vast auditorium, its ceiling an intricate mosaic of stars and galaxies. Holograms flickered to life, showcasing the Academy's history, its legendary alumni, and its grueling curriculum. Alex sat alone, her posture straight and her expression impassive. The whispers and glances didn't bother her. She dealt with worse on Earth. What mattered was the mission. When the presentation ended, the Academy's commandant, a stern-faced reptilian named Draxus, addressed the cadets. "This institution is not for the weak," he declared, his voice booming. "Here, you will be tested beyond your limits. Only the best will endure. Failure is not tolerated." Alex's jaw tightened. She had no intention of failing. As the cadets dispersed, Zra's voice carried across the hall. "Let's see how long the human lasts." Alex didn't look back. The real test was just beginning. Clash of cultures. The morning light filtered through the transparent domes of the Galactic Military Academy, casting a shimmering glow across the vast training grounds. Alex Carter stood alone in a corner of the combat hall, meticulously wrapping her hands with training tape. The hall buzzed with energy as cadets from dozens of alien species gathered, each group forming clusters based on their races. Humans, of course, didn't have that luxury. There was only one. Alex focused on her task, ignoring the stares and hushed whispers. Her movements were deliberate, precise, and calm, masking the storm of determination brewing inside her. She wasn't here to prove anything to the aliens. She was here for herself, for humanity, and for the countless others who might one day follow in her footsteps. Across the room, Zra watched her intently. He was surrounded by his usual entourage, a mix of towering Titaness warriors, their muscles rippling under their armor. Zra's golden eyes narrowed as Alex began warming up, her compact frame a stark contrast to the hulking forms around her. He turned to one of his comrades, a reptilian cadet whose scales shimmered green under the artificial light. "She doesn't belong here," Zra said, his voice dripping with disdain. "And I intend to prove it." The first training session began under the watchful eyes of Chirk, an insectoid instructor whose 4 arms wielded various combat tools. Chirk was known for his ruthlessness, and his antennae twitched with a mix of curiosity and skepticism as he regarded Alex. "You are small," Chirk said, handing her a training staff almost as tall as she was. "Your species lacks natural armor, enhanced strength, or regenerative capabilities. What, then, is your advantage?" Alex gripped the staff tightly, meeting Chirk's compound eyes with unwavering confidence. "We adapt." Chirk clicked his mandibles, a sound that could have been a laugh or a warning. "We shall see." The drill began, and Alex immediately felt the difference in her opponents. Her first match was against a towering insectoid cadet, whose exoskeleton deflected every strike she landed. The second was with a Zephyrin cadet, who used telekinetic abilities to disarm her within seconds. But Alex didn't falter. Each loss was a lesson, each failure a puzzle to solve. By the third round, Alex had begun to adapt. She studied her opponent's movements, their patterns, their weaknesses. When her next match began, she sidestepped a blow with precision, using her smaller size to dart under her opponent's guard. With a quick strike to the back of the knee, she toppled the towering alien, earning a surprised twitch from Chirk's antennae. "Interesting," Chirk muttered, noting her progress. "You learn quickly, but cleverness alone will not save you here." Across the room, Zra's irritation grew. Watching Alex adapt and succeed where others had failed chipped away at his confidence in her inevitable failure. His golden eyes gleamed with frustration as he turned to his entourage. "She's lucky, nothing more," Zra muttered. "But luck runs out." The turning point came during a team drill. The cadets were split into small squads, tasked with capturing a flag guarded by a rival group. Alex found herself paired with 2 cadets who clearly resented her presence, a serpentine being with glittering scales and an avian creature whose feathers shimmered under the light. "Stay out of our way, human," the serpentine cadet hissed, his forked tongue flicking in annoyance. Alex didn't respond. Instead, she observed the dynamics, noting the weaknesses in the opposing team's defense. When the drill began, her teammates rushed forward in a direct assault, only to be repelled by a well-coordinated counterattack. Alex, however, used the chaos to slip unnoticed toward the flag, her smaller size allowing her to avoid detection. By the time the others realized what had happened, she was already holding the flag aloft. The room fell silent as Chirk announced her team's victory. The serpentine cadet glared at her, but the avian creature gave a grudging nod of respect. "Impressive," Chirk said, his voice carrying a rare tone of approval. "Perhaps there is more to you than meets the eye." The day's drills concluded with a free sparring session. Zra seized the opportunity to make his move. He stepped into the center of the hall, his booming voice drawing the attention of every cadet. "Alex Carter," he called, his tone mocking. "Why don't you show us what humans are really made of?" The room buzzed with anticipation. The duel between the Academy's top cadet and its most unlikely recruit was too tempting to ignore. Alex stepped forward, her expression calm and unreadable. "I'm here to train, not entertain," she said, her voice steady. Zra smirked. "Afraid, human." Alex's eyes narrowed. "I don't have time to waste on posturing." The crowd murmured, some impressed by her confidence, others waiting for her inevitable humiliation. Chirk, sensing the tension, intervened. "Enough," the instructor said. "This is a training hall, not an arena. If you wish to challenge her, Zra, it will be under official conditions." Zra glared at Alex, but stepped back, his smirk returning. "Soon, human. Very soon." As Alex returned to her corner, she felt the weight of every gaze on her. She knew the challenges ahead would only grow harder, but she also knew that she was ready to face them. Her adaptability had caught their attention, but the real battle had yet to begin. The first encounter. The air in the Galactic Military Academy was electric. Word of the upcoming duel between Alex Carter, the lone human cadet, and Zra, the Academy's undefeated champion, had spread like wildfire. The combat arena, a colossal dome with transparent walls overlooking the swirling nebula, was packed with cadets eager to witness what they believed would be a one-sided fight. Alex stood in the center of the arena, her gray jumpsuit a stark contrast to Zra's ornate armor, which shimmered with golden light. He exuded confidence, his towering frame a testament to his species' raw power. The murmurs from the crowd were relentless, filled with doubt and disdain for the human. "She's going to get crushed. Why did she even agree to this? She won't last a minute." Alex ignored them. Her hands were steady as she adjusted her gloves, her mind laser-focused on the task ahead. This wasn't just a duel. It was her chance to prove that humans belonged here. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for humanity. The duel begins. The arena's lights dimmed, replaced by the glow of energy shields surrounding the combatants. A holographic announcer, shaped like a crystalline sphere, floated into view. Its mechanical voice echoed across the arena. "KDTs, prepare your ELVs. Standard melee combat. No weapons. Victory by civilization or ANCAPACTTION. Begin." Zra wasted no time. With a roar, he charged at Alex, his massive fists swinging with the force of a freight train. The crowd cheered, expecting an immediate knockout. But Alex was ready. She sidestepped his first strike, with barely an inch to spare, her smaller size allowing her to move with agility that Zra's brute strength couldn't match. His second swing came faster, but Alex ducked under it, her instincts honed from years of training on Earth's unforgiving terrain. Zra's smirk faltered as his strikes met empty air. "Stop running, human," he growled, his voice a mix of frustration and anger. Alex didn't respond. Instead, she used his momentum against him. As he lunged forward, she pivoted, planting her foot and twisting her body to sweep his legs out from under him. The crowd gasped as Zra stumbled, but quickly regained his footing. Strength versus strategy. Zra's strategy was clear: overwhelm Alex with sheer power. But Alex knew that power without precision was a weakness. She danced around him, landing quick, precise strikes to his legs and sides. They weren't enough to incapacitate him, but they were enough to wear him down. "You're just delaying the inevitable," Zra sneered, his golden eyes narrowing as he launched another attack. This time, he managed to graze her shoulder, the force sending her stumbling backward. Pain shot through Alex's arm, but she gritted her teeth and stood her ground. The crowd erupted into cheers for Zra, but Alex didn't let it faze her. She adjusted her stance, her breathing steady. If she let him dictate the pace, she would lose. She needed to take control. Turning the tables. As Zra lunged again, Alex made her move. She feinted left, baiting him into overextending. The moment his balance shifted, she pivoted on her heel and delivered a powerful kick to the back of his knee. The impact made him stagger, and Alex seized the opportunity. With a quick maneuver, she leaped onto his back, locking her arms around his neck in a chokehold. The crowd gasped, unable to believe what they were seeing. Zra thrashed, his muscles straining as he tried to dislodge her, but Alex held on, her grip like iron. "You think this will stop me?" Zra roared, his voice echoing in the arena. He slammed his back against the energy shield, trying to crush her against the barrier. The impact made Alex's vision blur, but she refused to let go. "Adapt," she whispered to herself, tightening her grip. Victory through resilience. Zra's movements grew sluggish as the chokehold began to take effect. His massive frame trembled under the strain, and his roars turned into labored breaths. Finally, with one last attempt to shake her off, he collapsed to his knees. The crystalline announcer floated into the center of the arena. "The human, Alex Carter, is victorious." The crowd fell silent, stunned by what they had just witnessed. For a moment, the only sound was Alex's heavy breathing as she stood over Zra's fallen form. Then, slowly, a smattering of applause began to spread. It wasn't universal, but it was a start. The aftermath. As Alex left the arena, she felt the weight of countless eyes on her. Some were filled with disbelief, others with grudging respect. Zra's defeat was a seismic shift in the Academy's dynamics, one that no one could ignore. Back in her quarters, Alex sat on her cot, her body aching from the fight. Commander Yellen entered, his expression a mixture of pride and caution. "You made your point," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "But this isn't the end. You've put a target on your back." Alex nodded. "Let them come. I'm ready." Yellen's lips twitched into a faint smile. "Good, because this was just the first battle. The real war is proving that you're more than a fluke." As he left, Alex allowed herself a small smile. She had won the duel, but she knew her journey was far from over. The Academy wasn't just a battleground, it was a crucible, and she was determined to come out stronger. Rising tensions. The duel had shifted the atmosphere at the Galactic Military Academy. Alex Carter's victory over Zra had been unexpected, and it rippled through the ranks of cadets like a shockwave. Whispers followed her wherever she went. Some cadets muttered grudging respect, while others seethed with resentment. Zra's defeat wasn't just a personal loss. It was a challenge to the status quo. For the first time, the Academy's unshakable hierarchy had been disrupted by a human. Alex returned to training the next morning as if nothing had changed, though she was keenly aware of the stares. Every drill, every sparring session, felt like an unspoken test. Her opponents pushed her harder than before, their strikes sharper and their movements more calculated. They were waiting for her to falter, but Alex refused to give them the satisfaction. She countered their aggression with precision and adaptability, earning the grudging approval of instructors like Chirk. Zra, however, was far from finished, though still nursing his pride and a few bruises from their fight. He watched Alex with smoldering intensity. His clique, loyal to a fault, gathered around him in whispered conversations, their gazes darting toward Alex. It wasn't just about reclaiming his honor. Zra wanted to make a statement, to remind everyone why he was the Academy's top cadet, and Alex had become the symbol of everything he needed to crush. The tension reached its peak during a team-based exercise designed to simulate real combat scenarios. Cadets were divided into squads tasked with infiltrating an enemy base and securing a valuable data core. Alex found herself assigned to a team with members who clearly resented her presence. The Serpentine cadet who had dismissed her during the earlier drill hissed under his breath as they gathered around the mission briefing. "We should request a reassignment," he muttered to the others. "She's a liability." Alex ignored the comment, focusing instead on the holographic map projected in front of them. The simulation was complex, with multiple layers of security, hidden traps, and opposing teams ready to intercept them. It was the kind of challenge Alex thrived on, one that required strategy over brute force. She studied the map carefully, her mind already formulating a plan. As the simulation began, it became clear that her teammates had no intention of working with her. They rushed ahead, ignoring her suggestions and triggering several traps along the way. Alex followed at a distance, observing the chaos as they stumbled through the defenses. When the enemy team intercepted them, it was a disaster. Her squad mates scattered, their lack of coordination leaving them vulnerable. Alex saw her opening. While the others were engaged in a frantic skirmish, she slipped past the enemy lines, using the terrain to her advantage. Her smaller size and agility allowed her to move unnoticed through narrow passages, avoiding detection. She reached the data core just as the simulation timer began to count down, her fingers flying over the controls to retrieve the objective. By the time her squad mates realized what had happened, Alex was already on her way back, the data core secured. The simulation ended with a resounding success for her team, though her teammates looked anything but pleased. The Serpentine cadet glared at her, his forked tongue flicking in irritation. "You got lucky," he spat. That's all this was. Chirk, who had been overseeing the exercise, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Luck has little to do with it," he said. Carter demonstrated the adaptability and resourcefulness expected of a cadet in this academy. The rest of you would do well to learn from her example. The reprimand stung, and Alex could feel the resentment radiating from her squad mates as they left the simulation chamber. She sighed, knowing this victory would only make her more of a target. Success at the academy wasn't just about surviving the challenges. It was about navigating the politics and rivalries that came with them. Later that evening, as Alex returned to her quarters, she found herself intercepted by Zra. His towering form blocked the corridor, his golden eyes gleaming with a mixture of anger and calculation. The hallway was empty, the hum of the station's systems, the only sound as he stepped closer. "You think one fight makes you my equal?" Zra growled, his voice low but menacing. "You don't belong here, human, and I'll make sure everyone remembers it." Alex met his gaze without flinching. "If you want a rematch, you know where to find me." Zra's smirk returned, but there was no humor in it. "This isn't about a rematch. You're a disruption, Carter. And disruptions don't last long here." He turned and walked away, his words hanging in the air like a warning. Alex watched him go, her jaw tightening. She knew he wouldn't stop until he had reclaimed his dominance, but she also knew she couldn't let herself be intimidated. Zra's tactics were predictable, and Alex had no intention of letting him dictate her fate. The academy was a crucible, designed to forge the best into something greater. Alex had already proven she could endure the heat. Now she needed to show she could shape it to her advantage. The real challenge wasn't just surviving. It was thriving in a place where everyone was waiting for her to fail. And Alex Carter had no intention of giving them what they wanted. The final showdown. The Galactic Military Academy was abuzz with anticipation. The announcement of the annual combat tournament had set the station's halls alight with excitement and tension. For many cadets, the tournament was a chance to prove their worth, to showcase their skills before instructors, peers, and visiting dignitaries. For Zra, it was an opportunity for redemption. For Alex Carter, it was yet another chance to defy expectations. The tournament format was simple: one-on-one elimination matches culminating in a grand final. Each fight would test not only physical strength, but also strategy and adaptability. Alex knew she would be facing opponents who had spent years honing their skills, many with physical and technological advantages she couldn't match. But she wasn't afraid. She had faced worse odds before. Her first match was against a Druian cadet, a lithe feline-like alien with reflexes faster than the eye could follow. The crowd didn't expect much from the human cadet, and their murmurs of doubt filled the air as Alex stepped into the arena. The starting signal rang out, and her opponent moved like a blur, claws slashing through the space where Alex had been moments before. Alex didn't waste energy trying to outpace the Druian. Instead, she focused on reading its patterns, anticipating its moves. The fight was a dance of precision, Alex dodging and countering with swift strikes that kept the feline warrior off balance. When the opening came, she seized it, delivering a calculated blow that sent her opponent sprawling. The crystalline announcer declared her the winner, and the crowd erupted, not in cheers, but in stunned silence. As the matches progressed, Alex's victories began to draw attention. Each fight showcased her ability to adapt to her opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Against a towering insectoid with an impenetrable exoskeleton, she used speed and precision to target its vulnerable joints. Against a Zephyrin telepath, she disrupted its focus by maintaining unpredictable movements and tactics. Her approach wasn't flashy, but it was undeniably effective. The crowd's perception began to shift. What had started as doubt turned into cautious respect. Whispers of her growing success reached Zra, who was cutting through his own bracket with brutal efficiency. Each victory only fueled his determination to face Alex in the finals. He wanted to crush her, not just physically, but as a symbol of what he saw as an affront to the Academy's traditions. The semifinals brought Alex face to face with her toughest opponent yet, a Makorian cadet equipped with biomechanical enhancements that gave it superhuman strength and endurance. The fight was grueling. Every strike Alex landed countered by the Makorian's relentless attacks. The arena buzzed with energy as the two fighters clashed, their movements a blur of precision and power. In the end, Alex's adaptability won out. She exploited a flaw in the Makorian's augmented systems, using its own strength against it in a final decisive maneuver. As the announcer declared her the victor, the crowd erupted in cheers, their earlier skepticism replaced by genuine admiration. Alex left the arena battered but unbroken, her eyes set firmly on the final match. The grand final was everything the cadets had been waiting for. Alex and Zray stood at opposite ends of the arena, the atmosphere crackling with tension. The crowd was a sea of anticipation, their voices a mix of cheers and murmurs. Zray's golden eyes gleamed with a predatory hunger, his massive form radiating confidence. Alex, by contrast, was calm, her focus unshakable. The signal to begin sounded, and Zra wasted no time, charging forward with the force of a battering ram. Alex sidestepped, narrowly avoiding his attack, but Zray was quicker than she anticipated. He spun and struck her with a powerful backhand, sending her skidding across the arena floor. The crowd roared as Alex scrambled to her feet, her movements slower than before. Zra smirked, his confidence growing. "Is that all you've got, human?" he taunted, his voice dripping with disdain. Alex didn't respond. Instead, she adjusted her stance, her mind racing. She couldn't outmuscle him, but she didn't need to. She just had to outthink him. As the fight continued, Alex began to exploit Zra's aggression. She baited him into overextending, using his momentum against him to land precise counterattacks. The crowd watched in awe as the smaller, seemingly weaker Cadet held her ground against the Academy's strongest warrior. The turning point came when Alex feigned weakness, stumbling as if exhausted. Zra took the bait, rushing in for a finishing blow. At the last moment, Alex pivoted, using his momentum to trip him. She followed with a swift strike to a pressure point, forcing Zra to his knees. For a moment, the arena fell silent, the outcome hanging in the balance. Zra roared, struggling to rise, but Alex was faster. She locked him in a chokehold, her grip unyielding despite his desperate attempts to break free. The seconds felt like an eternity, but finally, Zra's movements slowed, his strength waning. The crystalline announcer's voice rang out, cutting through the silence. Cadet Alex Carter is DECHAM Pion. The crowd erupted in thunderous applause, their earlier doubts replaced by a newfound respect for the human cadet. Alex released Zra and stepped back, her chest heaving as she caught her breath. Zra remained on the ground, his golden eyes filled with a mixture of defeat and reluctant acknowledgement. As Alex left the arena, the cheers followed her. She had done more than win a tournament. She had proven that humanity had a place among the galaxy's elite. Yet, as she walked back to her quarters, she knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge would be maintaining that respect in the days to come, and Alex Carter was more than ready to face it. Triumph against the odds. The days following Alex Carter's tournament victory were surreal. The Academy buzzed with conversations that no longer dismissed her as an outsider. Her name was spoken with a mix of admiration and curiosity, and cadets who once ignored her now watched her with cautious respect. Yet, Alex wasn't interested in basking in her newfound recognition. She returned to her routine as though nothing had changed, quietly preparing for whatever came next. Zra, however, was a different story. Though he had been humbled in the arena, his loss did not extinguish the fire of resentment he harbored. For Zra, Alex's victory wasn't just a personal defeat, it was a shift in the balance of power at the Academy. And it gnawed at him. His entourage, loyal as ever, tried to reassure him, but their words felt hollow. Zra knew that actions, not words, would restore his standing. Meanwhile, Alex found herself in an unfamiliar position. Success brought new challenges, and she quickly realized that winning over her peers was just as difficult as defeating them in combat. Some cadets openly admired her, eager to learn from her adaptability and strategies. Others remained wary, unwilling to accept a human as an equal. Alex met each interaction with the same quiet determination, letting her actions speak louder than words. The Academy's instructors, too, had taken notice. Commander Yellen approached her after a particularly grueling training session, his expression a rare mix of pride and caution. "You've done well, Carter," he said, his voice measured. "But remember, success puts a target on your back. There are those who won't take kindly to the changes you've sparked." Alex nodded, her gray eyes steady. "I didn't come here to make friends, Commander. I came to prove that humans belong here. If that means facing more challenges, so be it." Yellen's lips twitched into a faint smile. "Good. Just don't let your guard down." As weeks passed, Alex continued to excel, her adaptability and resilience setting her apart in every exercise and mission. She formed tentative alliances with a handful of cadets who valued her strategic mind, creating a small but effective team that consistently outperformed others. Yet she never lost sight of the bigger picture. Her success wasn't just about her. It was about paving the way for future human cadets. A new era. The Academy's graduation ceremony was a grand affair, held in the central hall beneath a dome of swirling galaxies. Cadets from across the galaxy stood in their formal uniforms, their achievements celebrated with speeches and holographic displays of their accomplishments. Alex stood among them, her gray uniform now bearing the insignia of distinction, a symbol of her triumphs and contributions to the Academy. When her name was called, the hall erupted into applause. It wasn't unanimous. There were still those who resented her presence, but it was enough to show that she had earned her place. Alex stepped forward to receive her commendation, her expression calm but resolute. She wasn't just a graduate of the Galactic Military Academy. She was a symbol of humanity's potential. As the ceremony concluded, Commander Yellen approached her, his usual stoicism softened by a rare hint of pride. "You've done more than survive, Carter," he said. "You've changed the way they see us. That's no small feat." Alex nodded, her gaze fixed on the distant stars visible through the dome. "It's a start, but there's still a lot of work to do." Yellen chuckled softly, "Work you seem more than ready for." As the cadets dispersed, Alex found herself approached by an unlikely figure, Zra. His golden eyes no longer burned with disdain, but held a grudging respect. He extended a massive hand, and Alex hesitated for only a moment before shaking it. "You proved me wrong," Zra admitted, his deep voice quieter than she'd ever heard it. "You're stronger than I gave you credit for." "Strength comes in many forms," Alex replied, her tone measured. "You taught me that, even if you didn't mean to." Zra nodded, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Don't get used to this, Carter. Next time, it'll be different." "I wouldn't have it any other way," she said. As Alex walked away, she felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything she'd experienced before. She had faced the galaxy's best, stood her ground, and emerged victorious. Not just for herself, but for all of humanity. Her journey wasn't over, but she was ready for whatever came next. Above her, the stars shimmered, endless and full of possibilities. Alex Carter, the first human cadet at the Galactic Military Academy, had not only survived the crucible but had thrived in it. And her story was just the beginning.